Do you see this person next to me? E is my friend. C has had to put up with a lot to get to where Per is today. I just want to let Glint know that Thon is valid, that verb pronouns are valid, and that Sarah identity is valid. I wish Void all the best, and look forward to maybe even seeing some of their lovely content someday. Please, treat them with respect, and I'm sure A will respect you too.
I don't consider myself to be a particularly ethical person, but I am fair.
This is so true, like, especially in the US, where you have figures like Candace Owens, they probably experience less overt racism at the hands of Republicans than they do liberals who claim to care about their rights. Like, at least Republicans know it's in their interests to have a black person that agrees with them. Liberals will just happily shit on them for any kind of characteristic other than their actual hateful views. Like, as a general rule, I never attack anyone for a characteristic that they can't change. Their opinions are fair game, but I think in general on the left we need to start practicing what we preach.
I love her lack of energy. Go girl, give us nothing.
Just remember, when someone says let's give it up for the troops, they usually don't specify which troops you're giving it up for. So when I hear that, I cheer loudly. For the Viet Cong.
Congratulations. You have invented a new kind of stupid, a damage you can never undo kind of stupid, and open all the cages in the zoo kind of stupid. Truly, you didn't think this through kind of stupid.
There's no such thing as non-intersectional activism. Not even from a moral standpoint, as in there's interlocking forms of oppression, but more specifically, the different structures of oppression will literally work to uphold and support each other. For example, whenever racism or sexism gets brought up, there's always some type of meritocracy, capitalist argument going on in support of either or. Racism has always had patriarchy's back, with splitting up a movement that should involve over 51% of the population. And don't even get me started on how patriarchy constantly infantilizes and demasculinizes black men, which also supports white supremacist ideals that go back to the plantation as the slave master being a gentle father to his slaves. Unless your activism actively combats each and every single one of these forms of oppression, then your activism at most is going to be a road bump.
Tylko jedno w głowie mam, koksu 5 gram, odlecieć sam w krainę zapomnienia. W głowie myśli mam, kiedy skończy się ten stan, gdy już nie będę sam, bo wiedzie biała.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah. As you can see, my skin is white, something I am very ashamed.
Alright, I'm convinced that 99% of people who actually complain about critical race theory have no idea what it is. Because what she described in her video is not at all critical race theory. I already made a video on this, so I'll just roll that clip. Critical race theory is basically a lens at which you can view history and how the systems and institutions within a society and country have affected certain groups becoming marginalized groups throughout time. And in the United States, that's obviously majority African American, but there are also, other people of color, indigenous groups included in critical race theory. But I want to address the most important point. This is not blaming current white people for everything that's happened. You are not responsible for the actions of those who came before you. However, you are responsible for your choice to ignore the consequences. And that is the major point of critical race theory.
I like you, have a cupcake. I like you, have a cupcake. I like you, have a cupcake.
If trans Americans have the same rights as everyone else, let me hear you say, hell yeah. That should be all of you. They have the same rights as everyone else, so, Are we not ready for that, though? Are we just going to pretend like they don't so that someone feels special? Oh, okay, that's what we're doing? Okay, cool, bye.
Hello, Ethan. You seem pretty upset that trans people have rights. And after taking a little gander at your page, it seems that if your boy Trump was president and more people like you were in power, trans people would have a lot less rights. And bro, why are you so mad? Is it frustrating knowing that you're on the wrong side of history and that your conservative bigotry will be snuffed out in the future? Cope.
Let's go, Brandon! Hey. Let's go, Brandon!
Hey.
Let's go, let's go! also them. They's want to take Christ out of Christmas. Y'all get upset over the holiday cup designs at Starbucks, but you'll...
Huge holes in the wall, like they're pretty big. And it was attached in like that.
Hey there, hi, my name is Mercury, I'm a trans maintenance lady, and I got so excited when I saw this question. I don't know why, but I saw 2 holes in the wall, and I went, oh, I know how to do this is gonna be fun! Okay, so here are toggle wall anchors. You're going to get 2 of these, and you're going to run these through the hole. Now, the way that these work are like this. So you are going to run your bolt through the hole of the towel rack, right? And once you do that, you're going to put that little toggle end that's going to be like this, and you're just going to screw it in there. And then you're going to push it into the wall, and as soon as it's all the way through the wall, it's going to go like this. Woo! And then that's going to hold against the drywall, and then you're just going to tighten it up, and you do it to both of them at the same time, and then it's going to be perfect. You got it. It's going to be so easy. You're going to be so happy when you're done.
Open up the gate, driveway, a staircase. Patio, the back, my family saying grace. Thank you, God. When I burned my boats, uncertainty jumped ship. I knew there was treasure, now we all are rich. Let's go! Curtains automatic, when I wake they open up, oh yeah. Same thing with the mirrors on the Rolls Royce double truck, oh yeah. I imagine it, so in real life it shows up. Huh? Grateful that today I get to...
Something that I see consistently play out throughout the behavior of narcissistic and toxic women is that they enjoy the isolation, marginalization, and trauma of other women. The internalized misogyny and toxic masculinity is drowning some narcissistic women in hatred because that video right there is not something to egotistically gloat about. First of all, pregnancy is so insidiously fantasized, romanticized, and fetishized that it's not at all a happy-go-jolly process to be pregnant. It is literal reincarnation. So if other women got an abortion, there is nothing wrong or comedic about that. Second of all, nobody is saying that you're not special for becoming pregnant. But what I am going to say is that it is not up to you to determine the worth and value of other women based off of pregnancy. This is insidious since the beginning of time. Third of all, the fact that you are about to have a literal child, a literal life coming out into this planet, a precious soul about to enter such a traumatizing world, this TikTok should not have even been your last concern to make. The fact that you want to drag other women down for not winning a pregnancy race is echoing more about the narcissistic traits you are embodying. For all the narcissistic, toxic, and raging women of internalized misogyny and toxic masculinity, check yourselves before coming for others.
He ruined my dream journal! I did not!
Black bitches, white bitches, yellow bitches, blue bitches, green bitches, purple bitches.
Here is a quick word for today. If your feminism is not intersectional and it does not include every single woman on this earth and their struggles, then your feminism is a byproduct of white supremacy and does not do anything for the liberation of women.
There's no such thing as healthy masculinity and feminism, and that's kind of transphobic.
I was just thinking about this video, and go watch it if you haven't already. I'll tag the creator in the caption in the comments. It just reminds me of this very shallow understanding that most radfems have of gender expression. Specifically when it comes to masculinity, most radfems have this idea that all masculinity is bad. And the video I stitched describes one of the very flawed conclusions that this kind of thinking leads radfems to. That any healthy form of masculinity must have originally come from femininity. I think this kind of misunderstanding stems from the fact that many radfems think that there is only one form of masculinity. That is, the type associated with the ideal patriarchal man. Like, in my experiences, radfems tend to believe that masculinity is this universally privileged form of expression, and that all those who partake in it are inevitably granted power, status, and dominance. But this is again a very narrow and unnuanced understanding. Many different masculinities exist and have existed throughout history. Even between cis men, the patriarchal type is not the only form of masculinity that there is. Rae Wynne-Connell, for example, has identified other masculinities that exist alongside this type, which she terms complicit, marginalized, and subordinated. Other feminist theorists have explored the ways in which other identities such as race create demonized cis male masculinities that are set apart from the ideal. Now, none of this is me saying that those other masculinities can ever be bad. Rather, I'm talking about how most radfems conceive of masculinity as a singular iteration that always affords the same privilege. And this misconception is even further exemplified when you think about the fact that most radfems hardly, if ever, acknowledge the masculinities performed by those who are not cis men. Many radfems dismiss masculine cis women as simply mimicking cis men, and many trans men as simply suppressing their femininity out of trauma or shame. The more turfy types will outright reject the existence of masculinity in trans women, especially trans lesbians. All of this not only dismisses the possibility of masculinity existing outside of cis maleness, but it also denies the possibility that masculinity can be expressed in non-hegemonic and even subversive ways. Jack Halberstam has a wonderful book that explores the insurrectionary nature of female masculinity in particular, and in the introduction to it, he talks about how masculinity in women is often disparaged, exactly because of these misunderstandings of what masculinity means. I'm using the topic of female masculinity to explore a queer subject position that can successfully challenge hegemonic models of gender conformity. Female masculinity is a particularly fruitful site of investigation because it has been vilified by heterosexist and feminist/womanist programs alike. Female masculinity is generally received by hetero and homonormative cultures as a pathological sign of misidentification and maladjustment, as a longing to be and to have power that is always just out of reach. As the author also states, a main project of the patriarchal gender binary is to equate masculinity with a single version of maleness across the board. Radfems play right into this project when they only recognize hegemonic masculinity as legitimate, thus concluding that any and all displays of masculinity must be bad, and that any healthy form of masculinity must be intrinsically linked to femaleness. This is again why you see those types invalidate the expressions and identities of trans people. Here are some further readings on the topic, and if you have any recommendations of your own, please leave them in the comments.